Hit it.
So we're up, guys. I've been waiting for it all week. I'm here with Jax. We're going to talk about the new show, Journey with Jax. Thanks for joining us. Hopefully you're having a great day. I know we are.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're pretty excited about this new program. So my name's Trey Goodman. I'm one of the owners of a production company in Phoenix called GCM Media. And this is...
Jax Atwell of Journey with Jax.
Yeah, so we met, refresh my memory, was it maybe a year ago or something? I was following you on your show on the History Channel through Facebook, which is, technology is awesome because that's what we're doing right now. And I was always posting stuff about things that I'm interested in, like abandoned buildings, and I travel a lot and things like that. And you were posting your stuff with the show. And I think we just eventually said, hey, we should meet up. That's how I recall.
Well, don't all great things start over a cup of coffee?
I think so. And we met over at the Refuge, which is a coffee place here in Phoenix. And we just started talking about what we don't see on television currently that we'd like to see.
Correct. Right. And, you know, those cups of coffee sometimes turn into great brainstorming sessions. And I think originally what you and I talked about was that how things are just being lost with the great information technology we have, like this Facebook thing right here. But if it's not there and the people can't find it, and I remember as a kid with my little sister sitting there scouring encyclopedias and reading things, and all that stuff's being lost. Yeah. And I think that joy of things that are decaying and being taken back, such as abandoned buildings, or something you and I both share.
I mean, I've traveled to, personally myself, 40 countries, 37 states, and I love seeing architecture. Love seeing history, places that are out of the way. I want to go there, right? I mean, it's sort of like everyone's going right. I want to go left. And I didn't know you, but I just saw from your television show and from your post, seems like, and then I found out you're a private investigator in real life. It's like, wow, this guy sounds like he's doing a lot of things I'm not doing. And maybe I'm doing some things you're not doing.
Absolutely.
And let's just see if we can get together and talk about, something, because I have a piece of the puzzle maybe that you would need, production. And you have a piece of the puzzle, like you're a private investigator and you've already done these things. And I think that's kind of where it started.
Yeah, and then, having a kindred spirit on taking the road less traveled, that you're talking about taking a right versus a left. If you're driving past that sign that says Odal because the M is out, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You want to know why, what happened there, and who died there, who's going to die there, right? And it just always had that curiosity to find out why and to ask why. And as an investigator, I'm the same way. I just always want to know the answer. And, that with locations, it's the same. Why has this gone back? Why did people give up on it? Why are these walls tumbling down? What are the stories of those walls get told?
Right. And I find that some people don't care, but a lot of people do. And we're that way. And I'm always interested. And so I'll turn off that road and go see where that road goes, or find out what is that all about, and try to find out as much as I can. I mean, you can go online and search to some, but sometimes you just got to get boots on the ground.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And you're all about that. Talk about your show on the History Channel. What was that all about?
Well, the Missing in Alaska, started out with an incredible state, probably one of the most beautiful places in the whole world, for me anyways. It's just majestic, but people don't realize the size of Alaska.
It's huge.
And how you can literally take California and Texas and squeeze them in there and have more room left over.
It's amazing.
It's hard to fathom.
It is, really, yeah.
But you have this little tiny population there. And it's also spread out.
Yeah.
And as time's gone by, Anchorage has grown, Fairbanks has grown, and Juneau's got a little bigger. But for the most part, they're little tiny pockets of towns. And people don't realize that this gigantic landmass, so you can go there and disappear. And as a man, when you get off the plane, it's truly the only place I've been in the whole world that you have this internal sense of, I could just walk off into the woods here.
Just go, right?
Like there's animals that are gigantic that I can live off of. There's fish. There's timber to build my cabins. And a lot of people that go missing in Alaska, I truly believe, are because they want to.
I would think that would be the case, right? Because it's easy to do, you're just saying, right?
Very much so. And then, the ones that are accidental. And if you're not in a major city like Anchorage, 911 isn't really a thing.
Right.
So if you're out in the woods hiking around like I do by myself, and you trip and fall,
something goes wrong.
Mother Nature's taking you back. Yeah. And there's no 911. And even if there was one, how fast could they get to you?
Right, and I think I read something, I'm sure you can verify this, isn't that the state that has the most plane crashes?
Oh yeah, tons of plane crashes.
And those can't go well if you crash out in the middle of nowhere.
No, one part that we investigated with Missing in Alaska on the History Channel was that The triangle, just like the Bermuda Triangle, is in Alaska also. There's 13 spots like that.
13. Wow.
Spots where these disappearances occur much more than anywhere else in the world. There's lots of ways to explain it. As an investigator, I'm always looking for, that plausible explanation. I don't just take things, off the records. Like, no, that couldn't happen.
Right.
But you're dealing with things like magnetic poles that are different. All kinds of stories with pilots where their instruments flip upside
Right,
down.
exactly. Or maybe you run into some sort of storm where you can't visually see now, right?
Yeah.
Or something? I mean...
And, you have planes that are ending up in places that they shouldn't because of magnetic poles, even though they're completely out of fuel. The thing you run into Alaska is you crash into a glacier or side of a mountain.
Yeah.
Snow covers you up. No one's finding you for a couple hundred years, if ever.
Well, even if somebody went out to find you, wouldn't you be a tiny speck as they're flying above you? I mean, it would be
It's so vast.
yeah,
I mean,
needle in a haystack, right?
when we were there in Alaska, it was just to put it in perspective. There was a herd of bison, or buffalo, as we call them in the U.S., that was found, thought to be extinct.
Huh.
That herd had wandered into Canada, but as far as the humans that are concerned, it was extinct. Well, they were out there.
They were still
That's a
doing their
huge
thing.
herd of bison that had wandered off the grid, and no one knew they were alive anymore, and they happened to wander back while we were out
Well, it
there.
wasn't like they had GPS little tags in it or something.
But you're talking a huge animal.
Yeah, kind of big, yeah. If it was standing next to you and I.
These bison are supposedly another head bigger than normal bison you'd see in Montana, Wyoming, that kind of thing.
What got you into being a private investigator?
Natural progression. Law enforcement's frustrating. As a lot of people know, you've red tape, getting things done. And I like to be able to have the hands-on with my client. Right. I like to be able to live it with them. And I'm very empathetic. And that's very hard as a law enforcement officer. You have your role. You go either take the call or you get the call as a detective or, however that comes to you.
And for those of you that don't know, you were in law enforcement at one time, right?
Correct, yes. Yeah. Been a private investigator for the last 10 years, though, and it's much more rewarding because you can see something from start to finish. You can be with the person through maybe their darkest part of their life, and help them have closure. And that's the best part about, what I do is just being able to have that little tiny input in someone's life. And a lot of my clients become very good friends. Stay in contact for years.
That's pretty cool. You don't usually have that on a police force.
No,
situation.
not at all. In fact, you're getting complaints, and that kind of stuff.
So this journey with Jax, explain to folks how you see it, what your vision is, and how they can also go on the journeys with you.
Well, when I was on mission in Alaska, we started to really see that people were very interested in what we were doing. Right. They wanted to, hey, go check this out, or hey, have you guys seen this? And that really got my wheels spinning in my head, just thinking about how that works with my own investigations. Mm-hmm. In a nutshell, Journey with Jax is an investigative adventure show.
Right. Which is not happening right now anywhere. No. That's the difference.
Yes.
This is not Ghost Hunters. This is not a travel thing where we go and try out food.
Yeah.
It's investigation
this
of a
is an
situation.
actual investigation that you get to come along with me while I have it. And normally that's going to be some sort of adventure to get to it, right, because that's what I do.
Right.
But that concept from Mission Alaska really flowed. And as I've progressed as kind of an explorer, an adventurer, going to different places, I constantly have people contacting me, well, have you checked out this? This case was never solved, or whatever happened to this building, or this treasure was never located. I mean, it's really the full gamut of things. It could be something as far, as a homicide, or it could be something as little as, hey, I was always told this by my family, but I never got it solved or never knew if it was real.
Right.
It's those type of things that are literally being lost to our great older generations because they're not on Google, they're not on Apple, they're not passing those stories down, and kids aren't listening to them. Our generation isn't even listening to them. It's all being forgotten. And my goal with it is to get out there and give people that quick glimpse of these things that are being lost.
And to solve a case, right?
Correct.
But I think what the cool part is, they say timing's everything. The time we live in now, you have social media. Mm-hmm. So talk about how that's going to be tied into your program. That's different from, say, other people doing stuff.
Well, that is the journey.
Right.
That's the journey with Jax. I'm Jax. You get to come with me.
I come with you via social media.
Yeah. So
awesome.
Being there as I discover things, as I move along in the investigation. Actually, how about this part? Most people don't ever get to see the beginning of an investigation. When the person's coming to you with whatever they need done. You know, so and that's something that a lot of people don't ever get to see.
Right.
You know, they maybe get the conclusion on a show or something like that, or read about, but they don't ever see that. How did this get started? How did he get on this path to go to this location?
Right. Well, what I think's really interesting and what got me intrigued and talked to the people at our company about this as well is the fact that you're a real private investigator. So if you're doing a show on TV or web platform or wherever, social media, people could actually then hire you.
Correct. Absolutely.
I mean, that's a little unusual.
It happens, and that's part of the whole journey with me is that you literally can pick up and contact my investigative company, and I can come out and take a look at your investigation.
Which is pretty interesting because if you think about some shows where someone's playing maybe a doctor or an attorney or whatever, they're not really that. This is what you do.
This is what I do.
So it's second nature. So the show is really second nature. It's not like you're stretching yourself. This is what you do. You have a lot of passion, desire, and then if somebody sees you and goes, wow, I have a story, they could send in this story idea or they could contact you. Who else is offering that? Think about that. That's pretty neat.
Well, we all like to think that we're a little special, but I do enjoy what I do. And I've had opportunities to get out of the investigative field, and God always keeps me here. I love it, the fact that I can start something and finish it and be there for the person. But also, my investigations take me to incredible places.
I bet so. Yeah.
And, it's not just working in Phoenix or working in, Montana or working in New York, where you're in that spot, you have that metro area or that portion of a state. I get to go all over the place. I'm all over the United States. I can go anywhere I want. Wherever the case goes, I can go there.
Well, and I have a feeling you have a passport, and if you needed to assist someone in another country, you could do that.
And it's happened.
See, so there you go. So that means it's just limitless. It's not. So this is not going to be a show about the western region of the U.S., even though I know that's where we're located.
It is going to be specific.
Right.
Literally case specific. So wherever the case takes me, that's where I'm going. And that could be Ireland.
Yeah.
It could be Australia.
Yeah.
And it could be in my backyard.
And then the fact that people can follow you on Facebook and Twitter and send in questions and concerns. And we have also a Patreon thing we'll talk about in a bit, how they can get even more involved. I think it's pretty exciting, and that's why our team wanted to come on. So, we're going to take a short break, guys, and then we'll be back, and we'll take your questions. If you have any, bring them on. But thanks for joining us, and we'll see you in a bit. Thanks so much.
From coast to coast, America has thousands of interesting places that time has forgotten and secret hidden spots that need to be rediscovered. I'm going to find these gems and share them with you. My name is Jax, and I want you to come on a journey with me.
Crushing Your Box, the new book from motivational speaker Trey Goodman, is now available. Go online to order at inkwellproductions.com or pick up a copy at local bookstores.
Welcome to my Patreon. My name is Jax. You might remember me from my hit show on the History Channel, Missing in Alaska. But I've got a great new concept on abandoned places and forgotten stories. I would like you to partner with me on my journey. Below is a series of options to join my team. Go to journeywithjax.com for more information.
Guys, we're back. Hope you enjoyed that little break. Just a good chance to get a drink or something. So we're here with Jax. This is Journey with Jax. And we have Sam, who's off camera. She's handling our questions that are coming in.
Hey, everyone.
Yep, Sam's a member of the GCM team. So, Sam, do we have anything yet? Do you have anything you want to ask us?
I do have somebody asking about your venture vids on Twitter. For those of you guys who want to be a part of that too, you can also hashtag at Journey with Jax on Twitter, and I am watching that. But I have someone asking about what the Venture Vid series is versus Journey with Jax.
That's a great question. So, Jax, what is Venture Vid all about?
Well, it's pretty simple. Is the fact that Journey with Jax is actual cases
Right.
that I receive from a client, and I start working them no different than I would work any kind of case.
Okay.
And those take me on adventures in different places. Venture vids are more of my own personal travels. They aren't usually something that's a case specific at all.
Right.
For me, it's something that, much like I just joked around about, you're driving down the road and you see this odal because the M is out, and you want to know what the odal is.
Right.
Why is that there? It kind of looks like it's been there since the 20s. Right. Or, you drive by, really strange, creepy gas station. Or, you're out in the middle of nowhere like I was recently in Yuma, Arizona, and find a gigantic suspension bridge. There's no case there,
Right.
but I want to take people along with me because my occupation affords me to be in all these different locations. I get to see really cool things. So the venture vids that we are posting up are pretty much just small little snippets and little, facts, and just basically being able to be with me while I see something that, you might never see. Maybe it pops up on Google once in a while.
Or they've seen it, but they didn't stop to find out why it said odal, and you found out for them.
And that happens a lot. I'm driving down this freeway, and I've always wondered what, this gas station was that's in the middle of nowhere, and it's just sitting there. There's no one ever there.
Right.
But with my occupation, I'll stop.
Right. You have the time maybe at that point.
And
in time
I'll
to do
take
that.
a look at it. And, and so maybe I do a quick little video so someone, can be there with me while I'm along on the journey.
It sounds like your mind and brain is on all the time.
All the time.
You're always just seeing, curious, wanting to know, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'll give you an example. I mean, this is not that it's that odd, but there's that Space Age Lodge or whatever on the Gila Bend Road. I drove by that, 20 times on the way to San Diego because my brother, as a professor over there, go visit him. And I never stopped because they're always in a hurry, right?
Yeah.
And so one day I finally did stop and then just kind of found out a little bit about it. And there actually was a case there. They shot a movie there back in the 50s or 60s, and someone actually was killed there. So I would not even have known that little bit if I had not stopped and they had like a plaque or something. But yeah, we usually we have a mindset of we're going from here to there. Yeah. And we pass these things on the road to Vegas or wherever we are, or Kansas City to St. Louis or whatever.
Well, we're always on this.
Yeah,
we're always,
of course.
I got 4.5 hours to be to Vegas, and and that type of thing. And so you're go.
Yeah.
You may stop for gas and to use the restroom, but that's it.
Right.
If you give yourself in life a little more time, you can enjoy some great spots. I mean, every freeway in the United States has just got incredible vistas. If you just take the time to pull over, you might see something your brain's never going to forget.
Yeah. Or even if you go on an older road like the old Highway 66, sometimes runs next to High 40 or something. Yeah. You could, they show you there's a sign, you could take it for a while, but most people are not going to.
Yeah.
So you're the guy that takes it.
I take it. If I have time to, I will. And I just really enjoy finding those little things that a lot of people don't ever get to see.
Well, and what's helpful too is there may be somebody that can't go for whatever reason. Maybe they're sick or they're invalid or something. They may have as much passion that they want to, like you do. They can't do it.
Yeah.
So they can join you on these vids, and they can also communicate with you through social media.
I'm glad you brought that up. That's a big part of it. I do have a lot of friends, a lot of followers, and fans, if you want to say, that tell me that all the time. I can't because I have this problem, or I'm stuck here because of this. Right. And they get to experience it. In Alaska, for Missing Alaska, I would run into this problem, but it actually solves a lot of what we're saying here. Alaskans really didn't like reality shows because they felt like they were, misinterpreting their way of life. But what I used to tell Alaskans when I was there, and I can say that because I was an Alaskan, I grew up there when I was a kid, but is the show isn't made for them. The show's made for the soul that is living in downtown New York, and their idea of outdoors is taking their chihuahua to the dog park. Right. And unfortunately, that's the world we live in. Yeah. And you have so many people that are rushing to pay their bills, make that money, you know, whatever they've got to do, and they're missing out on this beautiful world we have. And so I believe shows like Missing Alaska and the other reality shows that were created up there were showing people, hey, there's this vast thing you just thought was a dot on the map. Yeah. And hopefully with Journey with Jax we have that same opportunity to show people things that they would never get to, you know.
Yeah, well, what I hope is, you know, because I love architecture and gone to places, you know, like, you know, back east, Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. I went to that place in West Virginia. It's very old, 1852, I believe it was built, and it's owned by just a private citizen. It was going to be torn down, and he bought it. Now, how long can he sustain it? Hard to say. But if things get more exposure, then sometimes maybe there'll be a historical society that'll try to raise funds, or maybe through some sort of a fundraiser, or at least people are aware of it. Because it's sad when something is then torn down and then people are like, well, I wish I'd have known about that. You know, I would have maybe done something, but after the fact doesn't help us. And a lot of these places just aren't promoted that well. I mean, if you're on certain sites or something, I'm sure if you're on an abandoned places site, you might. But like you said, we're busy, we don't have time. But I think a show like this, I mean, the reason I wanted to get involved is I just thought, there's not a show like this on right now. And why isn't there? I still was surprised there's not, really, not like this. Yeah. We have the ghost adventurers and stuff where they'll go to some of those places, but one, they're not really solving a case. I mean, they might say they're trying to see if there was a ghost there or not, but they're not private investigators at all. And it's just a different angle, and I think that's what's important. We have a real private investigator who's very passionate about it. It's not like you're going to try to go do this. You're already doing it, right? I mean, so now you're just going to have a video team.
Well, that's the uniqueness, and what creates people's minds to grab onto something and remember it. Usually there's a reason, right? Yep. You know, you were watching a story or you read this type of plot, and that's what sticks in people's mind. Right. And the fact of being able to watch something as an investigation, plus it's an adventure to whatever that location is, and then getting to discover that location, I think that's going to stick with people a lot longer. A lot of what we're having right now is these little blurbs where you get a photo and maybe a little couple paragraphs on a location, and that's all.
That's it.
And you got to wonder, well, I mean, this has got to have some history. Yeah, it must have some major funds behind it to have it built.
Right.
You know, all the people's lives that were there, you know, that worked there and lived there, or whatever, you know, whatever the situation is. And we're slowly just getting footnotes in life.
Yeah.
With these, you know, photos that we catch on, you know, when you Google a certain location, like you've said.
Yeah.
And I think by going there and having a reason to go there helps people remember those. And maybe, like you said, that helps create some, hey, let's save this place. You know,
or at least or other people at least go and see what it's about or something. I think we need to get more people active. I think, you know, I mean, we're in this world where everything's just, if you can't Google it or whatever, then people are like, what's the point, right? But a lot of times you Google something, I end up with more questions.
Yeah.
You know, they might have answered a couple things, but then I'm still like, well, I still don't have everything answered. Now I have even more questions.
Yeah.
So I think that's the one thing we want to do is try to answer as many questions as we can. And that's possible by people can also, via Twitter and Facebook and stuff, ask you, even if it wasn't in the show, for some reason it didn't make the final cut, can't answer everything, but then they can talk to you, right?
I try to be as interactive with people as possible because asking questions is what an investigator is looking for. I'm just one person. No matter how great of an investigator I may or may not be, your brain is always spinning, but when someone else starts thinking, you start thinking off of what they're thinking, and you can build upon it. And so there may be a question that I'm not even thinking about that somebody tweets me or asks me about.
Speaking of that, I've actually got Katrina on Facebook. She's asking, Jax, what is your favorite or dream location you'd like to investigate?
That's a good question. Yeah, what do you got, Jack?
That's a great question, but it's really hard to answer because I just enjoy everything. You know, here we are in Arizona today, and we've got 75-degree weather, and all of our friends in the snow are crashing their cars today. But I do love the snow, and I do love going to those locations too. My dream location is discovering something that most people don't know about, and that can be anywhere. And that would be finding some hidden pyramid. I mean, I can't even imagine the elation of that. You know, you're in the jungle and you find something that nobody's found. You know, every time I go off on a hike in the woods, I just like imagine myself finding something that's been left behind that no one has ever documented.
Which it could happen.
It could happen anywhere. You know, and especially with all the treasures and things like that, the stories of lore and legend that are all over the place. You know, finding something like that. That's my perfect scenario.
So it wouldn't really matter what state it's in.
No, it wouldn't.
What's your favorite state, though, to have an like when you get a call, investigative project? Where are you really excited about?
Well, there's 3 places.
Okay.
There's 3.
Yeah.
Well, no, actually, there's 4.
4?
I have 4 places, and if you're talking continental United States,
Yeah.
it would be 3. But obviously, Alaska is a place that is near and dear to me. Having been raised when I was younger, getting to go back on a show, that'll always be a place for me.
Yeah.
But Arizona and Montana and New York, those are 3 places to me that are just. I keep finding more and more things. No matter, I feel like you just are like an open book when you go to these places.
Yeah.
And there's so much to learn about all these. And, those 3 places, they're so varying different,
Yeah, and as you know, New York, of course, I've done a lot of upstate New York as well. That's really different.
Yeah.
I mean, the first time I went there, I was like, I knew it was green and all, but it's old.
Yeah.
And
Very
there's
old world.
a lot of forest there, so things can get sort of hidden and things. Yeah, I mean, Albany, the capital of New York, I don't know, 1640 or something. I mean, it's ancient in our world, you know what I mean? And just all that area up there. And then to me, also on into Pennsylvania, like over to Erie and Buffalo.
That
whole area, which was very, very important to the United States at one. Not saying it's not now, but not as much. That whole area was like very, very... more populated, and there was a lot of industrial.
It was strategic,
yeah,
too.
strategic because of the waterways. and
Fort
all that.
Niagara,
Yeah,
I
exactly.
visited,
Yeah.
and just being able to walk where people were hundreds of years ago, and this was a very strategic point for the Great Lakes and the access to the Atlantic. I mean, just being able to feel all that. Very different though. But I think anywhere in the world is just awesome to be because every place has its own story. I mean, whether you go to Jamaica and Cancun, those places, they have incredible. They're not just resorts. There's incredible history there at those places. And wherever you go in the world, and you've had the opportunity to be in the Middle East, whether you're looking at that kind of area, like I want to go visit it, but the history there is incredible.
It's amazing.
You're talking the birthplace of who we are.
I mean, we were at supposedly where the Tigris and Euphrates meet, and that's supposed to be, in some religions, that's where Garden of Eden was. So you're like, wow, I'm standing in the Garden of Eden.
Yeah, literally.
It didn't look that cool a couple years ago when I was there, but but you're like, this is where I'm at.
Yeah.
I have a question for you.
Oh, yes.
Amy, she said, "What's your contingency plan? Do you have in case there's a problem, i.e., paranormal obstructions, etc.?"
That's interesting.
Well, as an investigator, you've always got contingency plans of everything, but you never really know what you're going to suspect, especially when you're going into places that are very old. The old phrase, "with walls could talk," what is there? I'm a very empathetic spirit, and it's always helped me well in my investigations. I have a real big ability to sense evil. And as I've progressed as an investigator, I've tried to sense good a little more, but evil is really easy for me to sense. Okay. So sometimes when I get into places that are very much like that, it tends to drive me to stay there and figure out why. I don't have the, okay, let's back out type feeling. Right. It's usually the people maybe I'm with that are like, hey, let's back out and start. But contingency plans are always there because you've got to bring in somebody that knows something that you don't. And as an investigator, I'm not so arrogant that I can't ask for help.
Right. Well, let's talk about that. I know that when we've been talking about, the show concept and stuff, we're going to have people on site who are from there for you to discuss. It's not just Jax going, looking around and trying to solve something without interacting with people.
That would be very ignorant to just feel like, oh, this is me, I'm going to go solve this. Yeah. And that's not even using your resources. Right. You have to utilize people's knowledge, and especially when you're boots on the ground somewhere where you're not familiar.
Right.
And it's very important to get a local person who knows history, who knows directions, how much time you can waste as an investigator if you get lost and you're taking the wrong roads and trails and stuff. Having people that are in their specialties, whether that, referring to the question, whether that is a paranormal thing. I'm not a paranormal investigator. Have I worked on paranormal investigations? Yes. But I would bring in someone to help me with that. You know what I mean? If that was the case, if that was part of the investigation. As with anything, whether or not, like architecture. Sure. I'm not an architect. If I needed help with that, I would bring in an architect. You have to be humble enough to have people help you. And I also think that makes the investigation really go smoother.
Well, it's going to be more well-rounded, and it
Yeah.
sounds like it's going to be easier to figure out things if you actually use the resources that are around you.
Correct. And I don't want, as an audience sitting there watching Journey with Jax and someone's throwing something at the TV and be like, why didn't he just ask that person that?
Yeah, or why doesn't he talk to somebody who lived there or something? And I think we've all got on shows like that. We're talking to the TV, like, why are you doing that? But let's drop a little secret in here. I know we're looking at doing an episode in Montana, and let's talk about where we might go and how the locals would work into that. And you know what I'm talking about.
You really want to reveal all that?
Just a little bit. Just a little bit. You
Well,
don't have to
it's
reveal
extremely
everything.
exciting. Montana is one of my favorite places in the whole world.
Right.
The people are incredibly unique. I've made some of my best friends and people I call family there in Montana. People open their door to you there. And as far as this investigation is going to be no different, and I think it's going to be really special because the location we're going to, former insane asylum and a place, where a lot of history has gone on.
Lots of history.
I don't want to reveal too much about that, but it has a lot of people that can help us locally into solving our case. And for me, that's really important, and being able to see all these people work together and be able to show the world this location that is, eventually doomed to be destroyed.
And that's another reason why we have decided that we need to do that one early on in the show because of that situation, right?
Yeah, we've got to get there. Some of these, I feel urgency with them.
Right.
And this is definitely one of those locations that is going to be forgotten by time. And as people are aging and passing on, the stories and the problems that occurred at this place, they all need to be explored from a lot of different angles. And I'm really excited to bring in people that I know on this to help us.
Right, and that excited me. I haven't been there, as you know. I haven't even been to Montana, guys. 37 states, but not Montana yet. But you were able to show me some video of it.
Yeah.
And it's pretty stunning.
Oh, yeah. And even as we've gone since you and I have talked, I've learned of new things that I didn't realize were available for us to explore and, take part in our investigation there that previously have never been seen.
So that's going to be something to see.
Oh, yeah.
There's no doubt about that.
Very excited.
And, I'm excited on a number of levels. One, it'll be a chance to work with you in one of your home states, and the people that I know you have available for us. And they'll find out more later. I know I don't want to give away too much, but we're going to take a short break. So go grab a drink or something, come back. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes, and we'll take your questions. Thanks so much.
From coast to coast, America has thousands of interesting places that time has forgotten and secret hidden spots that need to be rediscovered. I'm going to find these gems and share them with you. My name is Jax, and I want you to come on a journey with me.
Crushing Your Box, the new book from motivational speaker Trey Goodman, is now available. Go online to order at inkwellproductions.com or pick up a copy at local bookstores.
Welcome to my Patreon. My name is Jax. You might remember me from my hit show on the History Channel, Missing in Alaska. But I've got a great new concept on abandoned places and forgotten stories. I would like you to partner with me on my journey. Below is a series of options to join my team. Go to journeywithjax.com for more information.
Well, guys, welcome back. Thanks for joining us this afternoon here from Phoenix, Arizona. And I'm here with Jax, star of Journey with Jax. So Sam's our production person off site, monitoring our feeds. Sam, what do you got for us?
So during the break, we've got a couple people who said, Andrew said, can you please come back to Alaska, Jax? Zach said your screen presence, it's not half bad. And Chris said, you got to follow Lewis and Clark's journey.
Oh, that would be amazing. That would absolutely be amazing. I've come across different pieces of it in different spots. Obviously, you know, they were in Montana too, in different spots. And
the Dakotas. And,
so I've gotten across several of their paths. That would be a really unique journey to take someday. I know my uncle, I feel jealous too. He's literally done the Donner, the entire path that the Donners were on.
Wow.
From where they're headed there to where they had all their issues to the ones that survived. Another one would be the Pacific Crest Trail that literally goes from Mexico to Canada. And I've done pieces of it, but Lewis and Clark, that would be amazing.
Well, you know, another state I'm interested in, because I used to direct television in the state of Texas.
Okay.
And it's a big state, of course, and lots of things there. Lots of stuff. I mean, you know, it's one of those states where you can drive all day long and you're still in that state, you know. So I don't know how much you've been to Texas.
I have not, and I definitely want to be. I got an invitation to go down to Corpus Christi.
Oh, I love Corpus Christi.
And I haven't been there, and potential case for down the road. I don't know how much the hurricane and all that has affected things for our show, but that is definitely on my radar to get down there. Texas is great. I do have to chuckle a little bit though, because Alaskans love this T-shirt where they have this Alaska and they have Texas in the middle of it. Yeah. Texans don't like that very much because it's
because of the size comparison.
Because as the lower 48, Texas they definitely have the the win on the biggest state, but.
Yeah, it's an interesting state, just because, like you said, Corpus Christi. I used to work in a place called Midland, Odessa, small out in the west part, but I've been all over to Austin and Houston and Corpus Christi and all over up to Amarillo and Lubbock. There's just a lot happening there, and of course, they were kind of their own place for a while.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot of interesting stories. But anywhere in the U.S., I'm always interested in going. I mean, I got 13 more states to go myself, and hopefully this show will take us
We'll get you to all of them.
Yeah.
That, and then I'll start hitting Canada and Mexico and South America. I've got some interesting places, maybe in Argentina on a case with some Nazi stuff.
I would love to go to Argentina. You have not,
We've got Ken on Facebook saying, "Come to Illinois, Jax."
There you go. Yeah. Lots of history there.
Yeah, definitely, and it's being overshadowed by politics, which is it's always interesting to go to a place. And go and find the really good things about it that still make it a good place. Chicago's popping in my mind, Illinois, but Michigan, another place. Yeah. All of the media wants to focus on is, how bad Detroit is or this or that. But there's amazing waterfalls out there and amazing structures, and it was a strategic place for the Great Lakes, and being able to see those things for what it really is, The people who live there, they know that. They know, hey, we got a great state here too, but all that gets put on, the network is how, this city's got so much poverty or this much crime.
And Illinois has a lot. I mean, I've been to Quincy and to Galesburg and different smaller places. My son played minor league baseball, so I traveled around. You think Chicago, but that's not just the whole state. But it gets kind of tied into that, you know what I mean? But there's nothing better than just doing a road trip.
Yeah.
Boots on the ground, start driving.
Oh,
right? I mean, you can't beat that. Some of these states, we call them flyover states, maybe Oklahoma or Missouri or whatever. But if you've actually spent time there, it's amazing. Every state has something special, and that's what we're hoping to bring.
Well, you have to remember that people lived there.
Yeah.
They made livings there, they raised children there, and they died there.
And unimportant people came from there.
Yeah, so... all that's there.
Yeah.
You just got to go find it. I was recently just on the North Dakota border and found these twin bridges that aren't used. They're on two opposite sides of a county, and they were suspension bridges, and then they had lifts in the middle, but they never used them. Yeah. And they had tunnels and everything, but they're just sitting out there. But I looked up the history and started investigating a little bit and getting to see. I mean, first off, I was like, who lived out here? Like, what? Why are these out here?
I've been to North Dakota probably more than I should have. And some of the times I'm just like, people lived out here. I mean, I have luxuries. I was in a car, and stuff, right? And they, like in the 1800s, they were in a stagecoach and they said, hey, Jax, this is it. Yeah. This is where we're going to put stakes down. You're like, Really?
Well, in the summertime, don't we think that about Arizona? Like, why
Yeah.
did they stop here?
Exactly right.
But right now we understand.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry for those of you in New York, Pennsylvania, etc. Like having one of these cyclone bombs.
On Facebook saying salutes from Big Sarge, guys. Love what you guys are doing.
Is this somebody you know?
I believe he's got a good radio program that hopefully
Awesome.
we get on soon. So
That would sound like it'd be a lot of
I
fun.
also got on Twitter from Pete. He's asking, I saw this Patreon thing on your website. What's that all about?
Yeah, so there's a chance for people to get more involved if they want. I mean, they're still going to get a lot of information watching the show, and they can always reach you on Facebook and Twitter. But Patreon, which I know Sam helped us build, because Sam's a wizard on social media for us. So
well, you have to be a wizard anymore on this stuff, right? There's so much, and
seems
it's always
like it.
changing
I know, it's
and
like-
moving.
and then there's always a new app, right?
Yeah.
You're on
something
that app
new or some
something
new
else
way
there.
to hashtag or some
Yeah,
new way to think.
exactly.
But Sam does a great job with that, that's for sure. But it's just another opportunity to join the part of the journey, and that's why the name of the show and who we are as a unit moving on these investigations is to be able to take people with us. And it's another opportunity for people to be able to go deeper on the journey, whether that's closer interaction with me,
Right.
be able to see parts of the investigation that don't make the show,
Yeah.
and that's a big part. People
Yeah.
don't understand
Exactly, the big
that
part.
how much filming goes into a show, and how much is cut out, and no one ever gets to see.
You know that,
Yeah.
especially from working on Missing in Alaska, right?
Yeah, we would go week on end, and they edited that down to 43 minutes.
You're watching it going, where was all
Yeah, big time pieces gone.
gone?
Just gone. And so I didn't like that.
Right.
Being an investigator, I want people to be able to
Yeah.
see the pieces that got us to the conclusion.
Right.
So, this is another opportunity for people to come along on my journey with me,
Right.
and on the with the case, and actually be able to live parts of it that, probably won't make, the end production.
Well, a show, in television is 22 minutes. Surprise, you guys, it's not really 30, it's 22. Right, and so that's the format.
Yeah.
But with this website that you have and this platform, you're not tied to just that. You can have other things. They want to go further, they want to watch more. I mean, if it was captured, why not let people see it? It's just that old style of, if you watch whatever your favorite show is, a TV show, then that, Big Bang Theory, that's what you see.
Yeah.
You don't see anything else.
Well, and this is kind of the reverse of what we were talking about earlier with not everything being on Google. This is the positive side of our information age. And I kind of, when you and Sam brought this idea to me, it popped in my head, and I started thinking about my children who are always on their phone. And they're constantly on their phone. And they constantly want to watch new material. And they're not on TVs like we are.
No.
They're on their phones.
Right.
And, maybe a tablet, but they're on their phones.
Right.
And this kind of content, and be able to get extra the pieces that maybe the person who just watched the show didn't get to see.
Exactly.
Though that generation, and it's spreading out, are really grabbing onto that, having those little extra pieces, those little 30-second, minute-long clips, or little pieces of evidence that nobody else knew. That's the positive side of technology.
Well, and the great thing is they're not going to miss out on the show if they're not on Patreon.
Yeah.
But if they want more, then the opportunity is there.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's become great with technology. Back in the old days when we watched a movie on like VHS, all you saw was the movie, and then eventually they came out with CDs and DVDs and Blu-rays where they had all the deleted scenes and all the
behind the
extra,
scenes.
or the director commentary. We're like, oh my God, this is like so awesome. Well, we're going to have all that.
or even bloopers.
Yeah, exactly.
Because nothing's
Right.
ever perfect, especially when
Yeah.
you're out in the middle of nowhere. You're
course.
going to fall off of something, and it's going to be funny.
People want to see the people. Then they feel like they're more part of your team, and that's what the Patreon's about. And Sam, they go to the website for that, correct?
They can go to the website and they'll get all the information for the breakdown of what all those tiers include and all that good stuff.
Gotta love that, guys. Gotta love it.
I'm also seeing on Facebook, Scott says, nice job. Check out Massillon, Ohio, I believe. Heard of that?
We'll have to look into
We'll have
that.
to look. Ohio is a very interesting
yeah.
place.
Oh, absolutely interesting.
I flew into Ohio on accident trying to save money on a
Where'd you go?
flight.
Cleveland or what?
I flew into Cincinnati.
Oh, Cincinnati. Okay.
And drove up the state. And now I do it consistently because I really like it.
It's an interesting
I
state.
never would have stopped.
Yeah.
And the things along
Yeah.
the road that I've found, the hikes I've gotten to do. Most Ohioans probably know where the Ledges is. That was one of the most beautiful hikes I've ever done. Where the earth is split and it's covered in moss. It's like you're in some sort of prehistoric, maze.
Yeah.
It's just an amazing state. It's got a lot to offer.
Tons of history in
Yeah.
Ohio. I enjoyed my time in Ohio. I went to
Seriously, I went to Cleveland for the first time because everyone always knocked on Cleveland,
Yeah.
Mistake by the Lake, and all this stuff. I had a great time.
It's
in Cleveland.
beautiful.
I had a great
And
time.
they have
in
great
Cleveland.
food.
The food was awesome.
Yeah.
Went down to the area they called the Flats and all that down in. And
I think
was
that
like,
shocked me the most. I didn't expect that they'd have this great food.
I
The
mean,
food was incredible.
people were nice, and yeah, it was cold, but it's wintertime, is when I went. But same thing with Detroit. People told me, don't go to Detroit. You're the wrong color, they told me. And I'm like, oh, come on, man. I had a great time in Detroit.
Yeah.
So what took me to those places where people told me, like, don't go.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then I'm like, challenge accepted.
Well, exactly.
I'm going.
Very similar story in Rochester, New York.
Okay.
As two very distinct sides of the tracks,
Yeah.
and don't go there kind of
Yeah,
thing.
right.
You don't need to visit that. Stay in Buffalo, or whatever I got. And if I had, I would have missed an incredible opportunity. I was walking down railroad tracks in the middle of Rochester, and there's an elderly man. He's standing there, and he's kind of staring at me, and I'm feeling like, okay, well, this might be some sort of confrontation. He looked mad that I was there.
Uh-oh.
I was trespassing.
Okay.
Sort of. So. I'm there and I start talking to him. He's the owner of this lumber yard. And I starts talking to me.
Yeah.
And this lumber yard's been around for 100 years.
Yeah.
It's gone through the family. He takes me back to his office where he shows me old maps and topographic maps.
Gotta love
shows
that.
me photo with Joe DiMaggio. You like to show Mad Men. He had a big photo from the front page of the New York Times with him and his brothers, and they're all in their snazzy get up from the 60s, walking down the middle of the street, because they pretty much own the town. And I never would have gotten that opportunity to sit and talk with that guy and, be in his own personal office. And again, you just miss out because of somebody's opinion. Don't go there because of that. I think you lose out.
Yeah, I know you do. And we talk about some of the places. I went to Chernobyl.
Yeah.
People go, why'd you want to go there? I go, well, because I wanted to really see it for myself. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's that curiosity or boots on the ground, and I wouldn't have traded that experience for anything. Not that it was super pleasant. You want to talk about energy and stuff. A lot of people died there.
Yeah.
It's not a good place.
Oh yeah.
But I think to balance yourself, you need to see places like that. You need to understand, like, where it's a real place. It's real. It's really there. Not just something you see on TV or you Google on your phone or something, but you're actually there. Just like you said, you went to Rochester. Most people would go, why? Right? Why would you go there? So that's why I like to head to places that are not maybe so much the beaten path.
I've got Deb on Twitter saying she loves the Venture Vids, and she asked Jax, would you stay at the Stanrod Mansion in Idaho
Oh, absolutely.
if you were given the opportunity?
Oh yeah, that was an incredible place. I didn't get to go inside; nobody was home. Yeah. But the Stanrod Mansion in Idaho it's not really huge, like when you think mansions. But
what
maybe
part
back
of
in the
Idaho?
day,
What part of
it's
Idaho?
Pretty close to. It's not far from the Montana border, but in between
okay.
Idaho Falls and Pocatello.
I've heard the Idaho Falls area.
It's right as you get into Pocatello.
Oh, okay.
And it's uniquely built, and it was probably huge for the times with the things that are around it. But from what I could see in the windows, it's preserved almost like it was just taken right out of the 1800s.
So was it just closed the day you were there? Or?
And now it got sold and it's privately owned.
I
So
gotcha. Okay.
something I'm gonna have to arrange.
So
next
now
time
it
I
sounds
go
like
through
it's open now, though,
Yeah.
right? According to her. So that would be. So you would definitely recommend that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I just would like to hear the history. I mean, it had some really unique deaths in there, and the Mr. Stanrod was quite the character who probably perpetuated some of those deaths, and it just has some really uniqueness to it, and you just don't see a lot of those things that are that preserved anymore. That are just sitting there like it was there 100 years ago.
It's funny how quick things can get just passed by.
Yeah.
I mean, when we do that to people too, unfortunately, right?
Yeah.
Somebody gets to be a certain age, they just sort of get passed by. When they're the ones sitting there with all the information.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yep.
They could pass down to you, like that guy you met at the railroad tracks in Rochester, right?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
You have to listen. One of the biggest part of being an investigator is just listening. And so many people have so much to say, and you just got to give them the opportunity to speak. Right. I've got a cold case from 1888, and if I hadn't listened to the people involved that are, very along in age, like they're ready to pass, there'd be a bunch of stuff that we missed.
It's gone.
It's gone. completely gone. And the facts that came out of talking to some of these people led me into all kinds of other rabbit trails that I never would have gotten. You just have to listen, and they want to tell you, they want to talk.
Yeah.
And that's hopefully part of with Journey with Jax. We get a lot of that. A lot of people get to talk and tell their side of things, because all that's being lost.
Well, and what I like is the idea that on the website you're going to have a way where people can comment, and maybe somebody says something and somebody has some information, so then they volunteer that information.
Yeah.
So it's not all, everything's got to come from Jax.
No,
that's not the case.
It's interactive.
Yeah. And I think people want that.
Yeah.
So I think it's only going to grow, more and more. And there'll always be a place you haven't gone.
Always.
So there'll always be another place to go. It's not like, well, after 12 episodes, what are you going to do, Jax?
There's no, it's endless.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what people are going to like about it. Because it's not like, it's, how some shows eventually you kind of go, okay, I get it. And why are they doing another episode? Sort of kind of runs out of episodes, so to speak, but even if they're still doing them. But for this, I don't really see anything that's ending. It just continues.
No, there's always a mystery around every corner.
And it's just whether or not you can get the information to find out.
Well, another good thing about
happen.
a show like this too, and I really, am motivated to do this, is to avoid the direction that we are headed in history, where history can be rewritten.
Yeah.
And with a lot of things that aren't put down in digital format, and they can be rewritten. I think back to what I said in the very beginning of my sister and I sitting there reading encyclopedias as kids.
Right.
I wonder how much even that information from those encyclopedias has made it onto the internet, or made it onto
the filters
book.
Continue to sort of sift and sift and sift, and then you wonder what you're reading, how much of it is so.
It used to be, I think, that when nations would fight, and one nation would take over another nation,
they would write
to victor the spoil, right?
Yeah.
They could rewrite history. But I don't feel like I feel like we're in a different time right now. We're literally in a time period where history can be rewritten by removing information.
Yeah.
And therefore changing the thought process.
Or just making it so difficult to
Yeah,
find.
exactly.
We put what you want to know really easy to find.
Yeah.
And then you think you found it when in fact you really didn't, but you think you did, and so you move on.
It's like Googling something that's on the first page,
Yeah.
and then that you realize you stop there.
Yeah,
But
I
if
got
you looked
enough
at the
and you move
seventh
on.
page,
Yeah.
you might have found something that was really
Yeah.
unique about that. Maybe an article or a blog or a contact you could have made about a certain subject.
So I've got Stephanie saying this is going to be amazing and giving you guys a little winky face. I've also got another question on Twitter asking, Jax, do you believe in ghosts?
I do believe that there are things out there. I can't explain them. I'm not a paranormal investigator. I tend to believe a lot of things are more on the spiritual side of things, where they're demonic or angelic. And I'm not afraid to give people my opinions, and that's for a whole other show. We don't have time for that. But are there ghosts and spirits and things trapped? I can't say no. So I'm never, as an investigator, ever going to rule something out. That'd be the worst thing you can do as an investigator. You just basically go with what's given. And if the information and stuff is showing you that it's a spirit or a ghost in a certain location, I bring in somebody who's more qualified than me, but I don't rule it out because I don't believe in it.
Right.
You have to keep it open.
Yeah.
Or if you shut part of your investigation off, you're just doing the investigation disservice.
Well, and that's definitely what we're not going to do. This is not a political show, for example. We don't have an agenda.
Yeah.
And then we're going to make what we find fit the agenda.
Yep.
Our agenda is pretty open, right? There's a case. We need to figure out what happened. So you're going to take all the information in and get all the people involved as you can. And then whatever it is.
Yeah.
Not like, oh, well, I didn't want it to be that, so we're not going to say that. I mean, that's not the case, right?
Yeah, not at all. And I usually shock people with this, but investigations are all very simple. Whether you're investigating a stolen candy bar or a homicide, the investigation's the same. Yeah, one may take a lot longer than the other, but you go with the evidence you're given. Right. And you go off of that. That's the only place to start. Right. You can't have an agenda.
Right.
If you do, you run into all kinds of problems, and your investigation's skewed.
Well, and I think we have that happening in the world right now in a lot of regards. It's just sort of like you sort of like want to know how it's going to end, so then you make it in that way. And that's not what we're doing.
No, we're not that at all. We're going to let the investigation take us where, and that may have answers and it may not have answers, but we're not going to make answers up.
Right.
Just to fit, what we want.
Well, and I think you and I talked about that, having worked on some reality shows, and I said, I don't want to be fabricating stuff. I don't want to be, saying, did you hear that? When I didn't hear anything. Or we we hear a noise and we translate it as "I will kill you" or something. You know what I mean? I don't want to be part of that. I mean, there's entertainment value to some things, but I think our entertainment should be just the journey and what we're discovering.
The things.
Sorry, we got another question on Twitter.
Yes.
Tori's asking, what was the very first abandoned place you ever visited?
I have to really think about that. My mother has a big part of, my internal makeup. She's very inquisitive, loved history. We didn't have a lot of money growing up, so we stopped and did things that weren't very expensive. We didn't have money for Disneyland, but we would stop at, Pioneer Graveyard type thing. My family used to camp in Northern California up towards Mount Lassen. And Bernie Falls is a beautiful place up there that we went twice a year probably. And we would explore all the time out there. And there's, Pioneer Graveyards out there. I remember going with my mother from, 2-3 years old, going out there and looking at the graves and from a very early age being able to sense, things out there, and just feel, and, again, my mom introduced me to that, so that's probably the first thing I can really remember that caught my eye. And I've always been interested in it ever since. I mean, you talk about New York, talk about graveyards everywhere. I can't help but stop. I mean, I just want to get out and read the tombstones.
Because you don't know what you're going to find.
Yeah. So, I mean, graveyards have always interested me just because I know that, this was a life. It was a book. It was a story.
Right.
And, you get to read their tombstone. So, I think that probably came from, as a kid, having that opportunity with my mother.
All right, last question before we go to a break. Guy asks, will there be a lot of camping out during the making of this show?
Well, I love camping. Well, I should say this. I love going out in the middle of nowhere and surviving.
Right.
It's a little more than camping.
Right.
Camping to me is more of like a party. That's more having fun and roasting marshmallows and hot dogs. For me, getting my survival gear and relying on myself or whoever I'm with and going out into the middle of nowhere, that to me is an amazing adventure.
Right.
That to me intensifies everything I'm doing because what is more intense than surviving?
Right. Exactly.
So hopefully there's a lot of that, but we're never going to make anything happen. I think Journey with Jax is very important that we stick to what the case is. And so that's going to be case specific and depend on how we go. Now, I love getting to places by different means, whether that's getting helicoptered in somewhere or rafting down a river, whatever. So I think you're going to see a lot of that kind of stuff on our show.
Right. But I don't think we'll be doing any glamping.
No.
As they call that one. Yeah, you've seen that, right? Camping, only it's glamorous, glamping.
Yeah.
So,
no tent trailer.
Exactly. Well, we're going to take another short break, and we'll be right back after this. Thanks for watching.
From coast to coast, America has thousands of interesting places that time has forgotten and secret hidden spots that need to be rediscovered. I'm going to find these gems and share them with you. My name is Jax, and I want you to come on a journey with me.
Crushing Your Box, the new book from motivational speaker Trey Goodman, is now available. Go online to order at inkwellproductions.com or pick up a copy at local bookstores.
Welcome to my Patreon. My name is Jax. You might remember me from my hit show on the History Channel, Missing in Alaska. But I've got a great new concept on abandoned places and forgotten stories. I would like you to partner with me on my journey. Below is a series of options to join my team. Go to JourneyWithJax.com for more information.
Well, we're back, and we realized we're actually over our hour. We had so many questions. Sam was handling our questions through Twitter and Facebook and wherever.
So Facebook didn't disconnect us.
No, we haven't been disconnected yet, but we do have to take off. We've got things to do, but I do want to say thanks to the GCM Media team that's helped with this
Absolutely. Thank
today. Sam and Katrina and Matt, all three especially, and then the other people even farther behind the scenes. I want to remind you that when this goes off, then it'll be replayed on Facebook. They can go there immediately. And that's on the Journey with Jack site.
Yep.
Right? And it's also going to be on your YouTube channel.
It'll be on our YouTube channel.
And that's going to be like immediately, like
Yeah.
right away. So you can watch it again or
Share it.
share it or tell your friends what they missed. So journeywithjax.com. And follow you on social media, of course, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, anything else I'm missing? I don't know. There's so many of these now, so many. But we're definitely excited to begin the journey. Sam, do we have anything? One last question or something from somebody that's dying to ask
I do
Jax a
have one
question?
more on Twitter just asking. They missed the beginning of the stream. Just a little bit of clarification again. What's the investigative thing with the Journey
So,
with Jax?
Journey with Jax is a new television show, and it's just a little nutshell about what it's about, the investigative angle, how it's different from most shows.
Well, what makes it very different is I'm actually a private investigator.
In
This
full,
is-
in life and full
This is
time.
what I do to pay my bills.
Yeah. So
and
you're not an actor.
No, I'm not an actor. I'm not somebody placed on a show. This is really me. And Journey with Jax, in a nutshell, is an adventure show, but it's an investigative adventure show. So we're not just going to a location like you would see on the Travel Channel.
Right.
Our point is to investigate a case, just like I do every single day. Like I said, to pay my own bills. But this is going to take us on an adventure.
It's
So
going to
the
involve
journey
history.
part- Our history, abandoned buildings, abandoned places, things being lost,
Or forgotten places. Yep.
historical things, maybe things that nobody has ever discovered, might be things that we haven't even begun to think about. That's the journey,
Right.
right there. Is that we want to go on these, show people, and then bring them with us.
Right. So it's not so much just being there, it's also getting there.
Correct.
And then they're going to be involved with you.
Very interactive.
Yeah. So that's different.
Yeah,
And that's what we
extremely.
have to do.
The interactive part of the investigations, going on the journey, and that the journeys are going to be so very different.
Right. Each one is
they're
different.
endless, like we
Each
already
one
talked
is
about.
different. And people are going to be asking you to check this out and check this and that out, and you may, in fact, they could come up with an idea. And they can also, this is the cool part I like, so since you are a real private investigator, you can be hired. So if someone watches this show and says, wow, that guy's sharp and I'd like to hire him, they can actually
They can pick up the phone and call me.
that. And that's unusual
Yeah.
for someone on a TV show because it's usually an actor.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool, guys. I think that's really cool. So there we are. So it's journeywithjax.com.
Yep.
We got some stuff coming out real soon.
Very soon.
Real soon.
Lots of exciting stuff coming up.
Right. We appreciate all your folks watching for the hour if you have or whatever, and reach out. Now you know how to reach Jax anytime. 24/7, 365, right?
Absolutely.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.